even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream.
Hey, everybody. Well, hello, cheering. Hi, cheering. We're doing this on a different occasion today as well. Hello, everybody. This is Lucas and...
I'm Bobby from the Bronx.
Hey, Puppy. What's up, man?
Feeling good. You know, I got my first European-style haircut. I think I look good.
I'm going to move this little around so people on Instagram can see.
Nice.
Now, we have obviously huge lights over us on Instagram, so if you're looking at that live, thank you for joining us. You can also catch the jams live at RCE 106.9 FM, and of course, the way shit works now, we want you to follow us there on Instagram. You can also catch this going off on the Club with Lucas on Instagram as well. That's where we normally podcast from, but I'm here with my boy, Bobby from the Bronx, because we got some shit to talk about, but I have to say, you look... very handsome, and it also cuts some years off of you, man.
Didn't it do? My wife is thrilled. My wife is absolutely thrilled.
He looks 34.
Yeah,
he is
exactly.
34, actually. That's
Right.
the thing. He's 34.
Let's just call it that.
I'm 39, and I've been so for a while. But, man, this is your newbie expat go-to news podcast, and I might add for Lucas, I'm going to add for that it is also my bitch fest. And, yes, I ran over here, so if you see me sweating, it's because... of that. Today is also weekend one of this post-new recession, I believe, possibly, if not a recession-like commencement that's happening amongst the implosion of these ridiculous global stocks. You might not want to look at your portfolio. I know that in this country there is less so, but there is still a big plurality of Spain, because this is where we broadcast from. Shout out to Catalonia, Spain, and Barcelona. But there's a huge plurality of people who are invested, and they are pissed off.
I mean, there's a lot of inter-country commerce that occurs. You know, Catalonia ships a lot of stuff out to the States. You know, the States go back and forth. I mean, I get to see my movies and my music here, and get my pack of M&Ms. I mean, everything's going to be more expensive now.
My pack of M&Ms. And don't forget, if you shop at Prima Prix, which is this new thing that has popped up here in Spain, but if you shop at there, I think it's Catalonia, actually, they have a lot of things like Reese's Pieces, Dr. Pepper, and things of that nature. It's already gone up. All right, between the beginning of the week and the end of the week.
Not a shock.
This stuff is going to be happening. Now, amongst this implosion of this back-to-back deal, I just have to make mention of something, because as I'm speaking, the beautiful people of Lithuania did an amazing send-off for 4 soldiers who were killed in the line of duty.
Thank you.
In a crazy, freak accident. Honestly, I mean, they were found in a bog, like the Slough of Despond. Truly.
Horrible.
And
Just
so
horrible.
all, the love and positive energy to them and their families and everybody that's affected from that, because it is a major thing. But to see the president of Lithuania and his wife, all his cabinet, thousands of people lining for hundreds and hundreds of meters and not kilometers to send them off.
That's what a friend does. You know, that's what a friend does. They honored our fallen troops, the United States military members, and that was a beautiful thing. And then the president of the United States decided to skip it and go golfing. God, I hate this guy.
And not just golfing, everybody. And it wasn't just golfing, children.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was it?
It was also that he was golfing at an LIV, Saudi Arabian invested.
His other puppet master.
At his compound in Mar-a-Lago. So, well...
Doesn't it give you vibes like Nero fiddled while Rome burns vibes? He didn't make a statement to calm the markets. He didn't do any. He just took off to his golf tournament. What a joke. What a joke.
He's a piece of shit. It's not even a joke. I'm tired of the. You know how we roll up in this joint.
The way
He's
shit
a piece
works.
of ish. Because that's the way shit works now, and he is a piece of shit. And we have to call out this white trash mentality of hurting people and not giving a damn about it. Because this man, I don't care how wealthy you are, you can still be trashy, and it doesn't matter the color. This is trash talk. Now we're also going to talk about later on in the hour about Laura Loomer.
Oh, yeah,
And
his
her
girlfriend.
presence.
His girlfriend.
This is another something now. Children of the Court, if you want to look her up while we're talking, Laura Loomer is spelled, well, the last name rather, the surname is Loomer. Just know when you look at the picture, she's 31. That's all I'm going to say. She's only 31.
She got the Mar-Lago plastic surgeon on speed dial.
I don't know why Jesus lets these things happen, Rob.
And she's a big-time 9/11 conspiracy theorist, which those people suck. Every single person that's spreading lies and conspiracy theories about 9/11, she was chief of it.
You
They're
know
all
what?
idiots.
I have to bone to pick about this. We're going to make this The Way Shit Works now also the Bone to Pick podcast.
Right, it's both.
Because
As someone who was instigating his community, his university degree,
I actually changed from journalism communications to history and communications because of certain things that really inspired me to do my own research, which was called the X Files. And I'm not kidding. And there was a moment in time where it was usually an intelligentsia, often centrist, sometimes bohemian hippie, and often leftist idea that would spawn investigations into possible. I don't like the way this is looking on the screen. Sorry, folks, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm being anal retentive. I can't sit down. I'll suck up the furniture. But there was a moment where I feel like the ideas, some of the theories, but certainly a lot of the investigations, the research into things that would be considered conspiratorial has truly been hijacked by the right.
Oh, no, of course. They live on that. You know, like COVID's a conspiracy.
The
vaccine's
JFK
a
releasing
conspiracy.
files. Okay, motherfuckers, listen up. So last week, in covering up a lot of the stuff that was about to pop off, because last week, what happened last week?
Oh, you mean when every single national security and major figure in the Trump administration was on a Signal chat discussing battle plans and putting all of the U.S. military at risk for dropping bombs on Yemen, and then celebrating a war crime by bombing a residential building and saying cheers.
And
A lot going on there. But
there you go.
Disgusting.
I mean, while that is going on, the President of the United States of America,
Not on the group chat.
not on the group chat, was actually thwarted by his vice president on the group chat.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And things are going down because while that is going down, he sent his minions like Elon Musk and whatnot to do their things, which one of them did this weekend. But before we get into all that, can we just make a real mad quick shout out to the people at Esperanza BCN, please? You know,
How was that event you went to?
the last week and a half or so, we did some lovely sponsorship and help with this beautiful concert called Death, Life, and Rebirth for a company here called Esperanza BCN, man.
Okay.
And it was
was the band
headed by my boy, beautiful Adam Jacks. He is just a beautiful person in general. He also runs Vocal Core Barcelona, which is a many-faceted and beautifully formatted way of learning to sing and promote and perform yourself on stage. So you can look that up wherever good networks are at Vocal Core Barcelona. But Adam Jacks and Lady Karina Jackson of Esperanza BCN, they put in an amazing six-part show, a six-segment show that dealt with different, pop rock songs, but through the challenges of people who have actually survived some major-ass trauma, including having to flee countries and things of that nature as refugees here in Barcelona. And all of the proceeds that they went in. And shout out to Sala Bikini as well for doing things of that nature as well, because when they give that type of energy, it's 11:11 on the clock, had to say that. When they give that type of energy, that also says something. So, but all love and mad shout out to Adam Jacks as well. And
what was the benefit for?
the benefit was for Esperanza BCN, which has been going on for years now. But what they do specifically, my brother, is they feed the homeless and
Oh, terrific.
they feed the homeless and the hungry in this city. I also have to say something because we will talk, especially in the future, we will talk smack, about organized religion. And yes, the Ayuntamiento does things like that to help out. But honestly, surprisingly, specifically at least in Iberia and in Italy, you'd be surprised at how much the Catholic Church and Caritas does to help the homeless and feed the poor here. It's not a joke. In fact, they probably do as much, and in some places even more than the government. And so I will rarely, if ever, talk crap about a lot of the missions outreach that the Catholics do here in Spain, because they truly, truly do like Esperanza BCN, they do God's work. People like Karina and Esperanza BCN do God's work, and all of the money goes there to feed that. And it's just beautiful that people like that. And I'm saying this on important. It's a lot of things that I'd like to say because Karina's French, and my boy Adam is British. And a lot of the people that I was working with in the last two things where we were helping out with a foundation for ADAS and Fundación Ared, they're headed by Brits and Irish and US Americans. And I would love to see more of our beautiful Spanish and Catalan people doing a lot more of these things and joining us in the fort to help and protect and feed the homeless, clothe.
Could
the
take some
naked,
notes
you
from
know.
in the United States, honestly. I mean, kind of.
But we were
amazing
raised
here.
as that. And those of us who are immigrant expats, when we come here, we're raised for that. I have to make one quick statistic, and then we're going to get into the politics of things of that nature. But 30% of kids, well, almost around 30%, it was much higher actually, it was over a third during the pandemic, of kids in Barcelona, where we reside and record, shout out Catalonia,
bless
they don't have
BCN.
enough food or no food at all for dinner at night.
It's just a disgrace. It's just an
And
absolute
now,
disgrace.
what's going to happen? And so at some point, I think that the resistance from just whole-minded, integral people needs to be coming out a little bit more.
Absolutely, and local for sure. I completely agree. I'm going to meet a bunch of my fellow DA members in a meeting after this, and I will bring up that our outreach locally in BCN should be extended. I think it's a great idea. Clothing drives, food drives,
Food
whatever
drives,
the hell else
and a
we
lot,
can
and
do.
again, we're already connected to organizations that will give that to
Right.
these women and to
I
these
think
people.
I'm gonna spread the gospel, my friend.
Thank you, my brother. And shout out to
Definitely
Dems
will.
Abroad as well. We've got a lot to talk about as well because you, my brother, were at the Spanish protest here you actually emceed the whole thing. You were throwing that on the fly.
Yeah.
Talk about that, please.
Yeah. So also DA does do some
Resistance children.
local charity work as well, which I'm proud of. But basically, right now we're pretty focused on, like everyone else, the chaotic negligence of the Trump administration. There's radical austerity, this bigotry, this complete and utter shit show. And so around the country of Spain, our organization developed protest in 5 Spanish cities: Barcelona, Madrid, Sevilla, Malaga, and Valencia, with massive turnouts at every single one. Last Saturday was,
Hundreds and collecting to thousands. I'm
yeah,
sure.
ours had at least 200, probably more. It's been in a couple of the news stations as well, covered it. But funny thing was, I signed on to do whatever was necessary. I said, listen, I'll come by, I'll work security, fine. I'll walk the perimeter and everything. And I showed up, got my security little thing on my arm in one side, and the other side, the organizer saying, Rob, can you MC this thing? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean MC this thing? She's like, can you get out there, lead chants, talk to people about the news and introduce the other speakers? I'm like, oh, sure.
And he'd be all like,
And thank God I did, because I was the only person that yelled into the microphone, which was completely
Sufficiently loud
necessary
enough.
in Plaza San Jaume, because you can't go
in the
"And
middle of the
by
city, children of the corn in
way-
Barcelona.
And by the way, this is bad. No, I'm like, bankrupt Tesla! And then leading hundreds of people into chants and explaining what we can do in terms of what we did for Tuesday's election, in terms of calling our reps, in terms of continuing the boycotts, because they are working.
Now,
My
people
fa-
may be wondering, what Tuesday elections are you talking about? I really, actually,
sure.
no, wait a minute. Since you just mentioned that, let me tick this off. Newsweek is reporting, too, that this is not just Newsweek, all outlets are reporting, and we are doing it for you, my beautiful expat community, that a new national day of protest is set to sweep across all 50 states.
Today.
If you look
Today.
at some of the pictures and things, it's impressive. It's in every 50 states. I mean, it's everywhere. It's going to be there, and most of it is called the hands off. They're targeting perceived threats to democracy, bodily autonomy, climate justice, and of course, this is a direct response to
The chaotic
President Donald
negligence?
Trump and his VP wife Elon Musk. Now,
Just ridiculous.
yeah, of course, and it all is ridiculous.
DC and state capitals, Tesla dealerships. There's going to be protests everywhere across the United States today. I'm proud to be an American today.
Are you
Very
proud
nice.
to be? We're not going to see Lee Greenwood here on this podcast. Hail to them. No, but we will talk about
we will.
a very big significance that happened this week because it broke a, over 60-year record in the Senate floor when something that is akin to what is called a
more than that.
filibuster, which actually look up the etymology of that Roman word, where that really means, but where Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey took the floor for over 25 hours.
Shut it down. All business. They couldn't do any evil out of the Senate for one full day. It was wonderful.
He did not even take a break to pee. 25 hours, everybody.
Yep.
Not even a break. Now, he said he had been fasting and meditating before this, leading up to the time, and that's how he was able to do this. I do believe he had the power of a might. They had some strength of a mighty power behind him, because 25 hours. Now, what's significant about that, especially for me, is that the previous record holder was over a day, 24 hours, by a segregationist named Strom Thurmond.
Yeah, he did it to protest civil rights legislation like a human garbage that he is.
Like the human garbage that he was.
And had the record, yeah. He tried to filibuster legislation. Cory Booker was trying to prevent the a cabinet member from being appointed, but it's definitely, he told truth bomb, he dropped truth bomb after truth bomb, just did nothing but tell the truth for 24 hours. These Republicans go up there to filibuster and they read Green Eggs and Ham. Cory Booker told the truth, told it like it is. It was a beautiful thing. And now
who did the Green Eggs and Ham thing?
Ted Cruz. Rafael Cruz.
Rafael Cruz. Yeah.
Rafael Cruz did
Rafael Cruz. Born in Canada, so I don't know why you keep trying to run for president.
Yeah, Republicans love changing their names when
Keep
they
it
sound
real, mother effer.
not
So
exactly.
anyway, and shout out to Canada, fight the power, because what happened yesterday?
What happened yesterday?
We were going to get to that, but 4 Republican senators jumped over on the side of democracy to take down these tariffs
against
Canada.
Before Liberation Day, this was put together. And welcome to the Resistance. Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, the one from Collins from Maine, and Murkowski.
Exactly.
They joined to pass a resolution to stop Trump's from exploiting his emergency tariff powers, because at the end of the day, he's using a fake emergency. There's no emergency. Congress should do its job, which is run by Republicans, never forget. In a cult of Donald Trump, they should do their job. They should end this fake emergency
because it's ridiculous.
And he's wrecking the economy while declaring a fake emergency. So he's causing an emergency.
Playing golf with Saudi Arabian-led
Nero fiddles while Rome burns.
Florilago and Mar-a-Lago, Florilago, whatever.
Ridiculous.
It is the bottom of the rung up in there. But here's the other thing too that I want to make mention, because while we're doing that, while he's doing these types of things, we also have him throwing out cheesehead mother effer out there. Elon Musk dancing around like and they complaining like a little titty baby bitch that he is.
That's
so
what he is.
they sent him out to invest nearly $30 million mother effing dollars into this Wisconsin case. Now, this is the biggest. Yeah, this past Tuesday, just a few days ago, was the first elections that have been held in the U.S. since the November
Major,
disaster.
there were some specials and stuff, statewide stuff, but this is the first like major race for sure. And Elon, not only did he throw just about 30 million, give or take, he did his scam again, where it's $1 million charity, it's a raffle, it's $1 million raffle. Sorry, that hey, you could win if you just show up after you voted, illegal, to pay people to vote, and say you're against activist judges.
Well, federal district judge came out and has already said this is absolutely illegal. What is going to happen is the thing. Now, I actually asked Walter,
Wisconsin to go after
which
his
is my
ass.
name for ChatGPT.
Okay,
I asked Walter some of this information, so I'll get to that in just a little bit, because what happened
we kicked
was
his ass.
Booyah, by
kicked his
over
ass.
10%. The woman who was running, oh my God, why did I not look up that name?
Elon got his ass kicked is the important part of the day.
The Wisconsin
and that's
Supreme
what
Court.
we want to talk about.
Amen. And that Wisconsin Supreme Court will protect women's rights, will take bodily autonomy, will stave off as much as they can the technocrats that are taking over at this moment.
Won't let them buy it, which is great, and won't let Elon sell his death trap cars in their states.
Oh, my nerves.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff. You know,
now, by the way, the Cybertruck has been reviewed and critiqued by the agents of that nature who review this stuff as the most dangerous car in modern history and in the market at the moment.
Makes perfect sense. I've
As
seen
of
it
this weekend. Seriously,
I've seen
right now.
videos of it like spiraling out in 1 inch of snow, like in Minnesota. So I get
That kind of sounds like what happens in the airports here in Barcelona if we get an inch of snow, but also Florida. The two mother effers who were running in Florida were
District
actually
1, District
replacing
6.
Walz and
Oh,
Gates.
You know Gates.
The alleged pedophile.
The House
And-
investigation came to the conclusion that he paid minors for sex.
And that is why he is no longer there, and instead has a newscast show on Newsmax. fun. But both of those people had originally, just months ago, won their seats by over, what was it, 30?
Well, Matt Gaetz beat Gay by 30 points, more than 30 points, and now both people who ran in District 1 and District 6 slashed Trump's margins and
By
that
15
margin
and 20
half.
points.
Yeah, they cut it in half. So these are
Incredible.
as we were talking about on the show, and we mentioned it several times. The point was to put all the effort into these races to make Republicans scared. And tell me how a two deep ruby red districts slash their turnout in half. Tens of thousands of people clearly don't agree that Donald Trump is the right choice, and don't agree that Donald Trump has a mandate either.
Because what? And then they said, I want to shout out this little statistic that I'm going to throw out from Dems Abroad. If you can see it, Huacata. It says that 31.8% voted for Trump. 31.8. Nearly 30.9% voted for Harris. 1.1 almost voted for third party. Okay, that means that about 32% did not vote for him. But 36 and a third % of the population did not vote. Near about 90 million people
Yeah.
did not vote.
Oh, most people didn't vote for this guy. Even in the election, most people didn't vote for Trump. The people that didn't show up dwarfed the amount of people that voted for Trump.
Exactly.
It's insane. He
And
doesn't
so-
have a mandate to wreck the economy. He doesn't have a mandate to slash and burn federal programs
At all.
illegally without Congress. He
At
doesn't
all.
have a mandate to tariff the entire planet except his favorite dictators. It's an
This is
absolute
another
joke.
thing, and folks, if you did not know that, there were
God, I
a
hate
few
this
countries
guy.
that escaped his extra sanctions. Now, to be fair, let's be real, China and Russia already have sanctions rather upon them. But I believe some of the that were not.
The non-sanctioned goods were tariffed from Russia, but others like Viktor Orban's Hungary.
Hungary, Belarus, Venezuela for some reason
Trump,
as well.
yeah, right. I think because he wants to put a Trump tower there. Like, but it's
He
also
has been
insane.
talking a lot about,
You know who was tariffed though? The penguins.
exactly.
McDonald Islands. We got
McDonald
penguins.
Islands
They're
were-
mad.
Mhm.
They're
And
mad.
I
right now.
believe I loved your little idea that should be a new mascot of some sort.
The mascot of us Americans abroad should be the penguins. Now that now the penguins are being tariffed, we need to be allies of the penguins, and I think we should be the penguins. I think it's a good.
It's the funny thing is that here in Barcelona there is actually this kind of offshoot gay society for culture called Los Pingüinos.
Even better, because
It's like
Republicans will
en
hate
plan
it.
como, es en plan como.
But quick shift break intro into segment 2 because this one we titled "Oof, How Trump is Effing Up." Let's talk about it. Because Trump officials admit now that they accidentally sent
Okay,
a Maryland
Lord.
father who is a tax-paying permanent resident with kids, born and
Kilmar
raised kid citizen,
Garcia.
and Kilmar, what is his name?
Garcia, Kilmar Garcia,
Abrego,
father,
Abrego Garcia.
married to an American citizen here under the legal regime. He wasn't like
He was given
he's
protective
doing the
status as
process.
well.
Right, he's going through the legal process. Remember when Republicans said they wanted people to come to the United States of America the right way? He's doing it the right way. Now they're changing it and goalposts moving it because the Republican Party hates immigrants. The Republican Party hates anybody that lives in a white Christian male, and I think we need to get right with that.
Amen, brother.
This poor
Amen.
man is
and
in
it's
El
not just there.
Salvador.
That shit happens here. Folks,
Sure,
if you knew what Catalans say behind closed doors about Latinos, not all my brothers and sisters, but oh Jesus, we won't even talk about that. Just
Yeah,
let
I don't
everybody
got it.
know really
Slightest
quickly that the last place in the Western world that was using slave labor for its wealth for nearly 7 decades was Barcelona, Catalonia. Look it up, children. There's a wonderful art. Yeah, did you know that?
no, I didn't know that.
Oh, one day Lucas will
Stain on
pontificate on
society.
that.
And now it's on El Salvador. Now
There we
they're
go. So they
supermax
send the
slave prisons.
brother to El Salvador, but now we're finding out they're sending the citizens have been taken, permanent residents who have been here forever and ever, including attorneys and a doctor. I heard of one, makeup artists because they had a tattoo. This gay brother that was taken over there, and what that threshold sets is a judge then had to come out and say you are in contempt.
Well, that's we're
It's the next part, I guess.
Yeah, no. The eventual next step is because this judge who ordered the flights to El Salvador Supermax prison to be stopped, and the Trump administration said, too late, we already did it, is now saying, yeah, we accidentally sent this man to El Salvador Supermax prison for the crime of having tattoos in our little, like, our dynamic of how we judge what is somebody a dangerous gang member or not. It's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt this man was not a gang member, a terrorist, or any of that sense, and that's why we have due process.
Exactly.
Which is
even
to
if you are
prove
in the
that.
country, you get due process.
Of course you do, because then nobody has due process.
And guess what, folks?
If Donald Trump says I'm not an American, I don't get due process. Like, so it's not the same. Like, Kilmar Garcia and me have the same amount of due process in the United States, without a doubt.
Amen.
And except if you're a Republican president and a Republican cult in fucking Congress. It's an absolute joke. The man needs to be brought home yesterday.
So-
They're saying, good luck. Go talk to the president of El Salvador. We don't do anything. So I think the judge needs to put sanctions on their asses. I think the judge needs to hold them in contempt, without a doubt.
What happens though if the judge holds, and this is the next step that he's already said that it could happen. What happens when a judge holds a White House official in contempt in the U.S.? If a federal judge, thank you, Walter, holds a White House official in contempt of court, it means the official has refused to comply with a lawful order. Here's what can happen. Civil contempt. The judge can fine the official daily until they comply. In extreme cases, the judge can order detention until the officials comply, which is rare for executive officials, but rarely has this stuff happened.
No, you're not going to find very many examples of we accidentally sent somebody here legally to El Salvador Supermax prison. Just an absolute disgrace. It's a stain on America. We're going to owe that man and his family for generations because it's just such a disaster. But yes, everyone who steps foot on U.S. soil is entitled to due process. It's a fucking joke.
Really quickly, the administration, according to Judge Paulacinis, who's the one who's the U.S. Judge, they have violated through this deportation and the Immigration and Nationality Act, and the administration has now been given a deadline of sometime, I believe next week,
Monday,
to facilitate his return, highlighting the legal complexities of potential overreach involved in such deportations. What really strikes me, again, because I get weird comments sometimes here, but I am Mexican. I was born and raised in the United States of America, but my family, my mother's family was hundreds of years in Texas, so they're very U.S. American. They're actually very right-wing. Oh, my mother and her, don't talk evil of Trump. The Lord put him there, mijito. But thankfully, my father's family was not that way, although some of them are in Dallas, but whatever.
My family are too.
You know, there's this... Child, please.
Dude, the cult tactics have infected I mean, like, you don't not know people who just believe that all this is good. There's the whole myth now in the Trump circles is that there's going to be a big payoff. Don't worry, all this is fine. It's going to be so much better. And what these people who vote for Donald Trump don't realize is he's talking about himself. Mm-hmm. He's talking about his billionaire cabinet members.
And how would that happen, though? Because I had a student of mine ask me that in uni.
Oh, replacing
yesterday.
Corporate tax and income tax with idiotic tariffs, which is the most massive tax increase ever.
And that affects the stocks.
And it won't fill the gaps.
And guess what? Stock prices then go down. So billionaires and multi-millionaires are going to buy those stocks while they're cheap. Yeah. Then when things fluctuate and go back up, there you go with the reselling
You have to assume they shorted it too. Like all his billionaire cabinet knew that what tariffs were dropping down. You know, it's not like they kept that a secret in the White House.
Absolutely not.
And Donald Trump used to manipulate the stock market by tweet when he was president last time. Look it up.
Here is some stuff that is truth, so everybody knows what's going on as we enter the weekend here, past this first tranche of, or whatever it's called, of tariffs. $6 trillion have been wiped off the market since Trump took over.
No, I think it's more now.
Yeah, well, as of this last night, it was
$6
$6 trillion. We don't know what the markets in the futures are going to be holding. Well, we do, actually. We can look that up in a second. But the big 7 stocks in the last 3 days, not even 3 days, 2.5, have lost over $1.5 trillion. And Tesla is hemorrhaging. SpaceX doesn't have much behind it either. This is affecting the bottom line. And I want to say something. Laura effing Loomer again. Because this heifer has had it out for Musk for a while. Because at least in that truth-telling situation, she sees him as someone he's a welfare queen who has taken the most to enrich himself. And that is exactly what he is.
Republicans are often welfare queens.
And apparently, an ex-lover has released some information.
Oh, let's get to that. But no,
tiny penis.
Tiny penis.
Tiny
Is
penis.
that the information?
And he tried, and
Allegedly?
he had an
Allegedly?
enlargement thing done to it, or tried to, I believe.
Well, his whole like face and hairline are all different, so who knows?
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Now, here's the thing.
Tiny
This
penis
heifer-
Musk, allegedly?
This heifer was all up in the grill during the campaign of the Trumps winning, and then she was quickly ushered out after 1 week there because she was flying with him. Do you remember she went to this
During
white
the campaign.
supremacist thing that was
Disqualifying, yet another disqualifying thing about Donald Trump when he ran for office again was that Laura Loomer was a personal advisor that he's now brought back to fire half of the national security people.
So exactly. So I want to set the scene because this heifer comes in, and again, I can just look her up. She's 31. All right, she should not look 60 stretched. Madonna, you look fabulous, by the way. The firing, so Loomer comes in with a booklet of papers
From the GRU, probably.
and she lays them out, and she starts talking about the perceived disloyalty of dozens of staffers, including, and Waltz is in there, and she talks to him, his principal deputy, Alex Wong, who is also to the meeting, which was also attended by J.D. Vance, and she starts calling out these people to their faces. Now, these are members of the National Security Council, many of which have been there for years and years and years and years. So the fired officials, I'll throw out some names now, that were fired immediately after, within hours after that she left the meeting there, and then she tweeted about it. The fired officials of the National Security Council included Brian Walsh, who was a senior director for intelligence, who was working for Marco Rubio on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Thomas Boudry of the Senior Director for Legislative Affairs, who had also served as Waltz's legislative director in Congress, and Maggie Doherty, the Senior Director for International Organizations. They were just because a right-wing conspiracy theorist podcaster went and had a private meeting, and who knows what else happened up in there.
Oh, I've always
because
said
the
she's
rumors,
blowing him. She's blowing him, I think, allegedly.
Well, the rumors are for months now that they boinked. I
don't
will
think
use
he
the
can even-
moonlighting term for that. You don't think they boinked?
I don't think Donald Trump can actually have sex.
Oh, well, what about a chupa chup?
I mean, yeah, chupa chup. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think like his way of like getting off is like you know,
Allegedly, this is not us saying this. I don't want that, but
yeah, it's
I'm
fair.
thrown out of the way shit works now. But
Fair.
allegedly, this has been going on. They've been saying it for months, and that is
allegedly,
why.
that's his side chick.
Who is it? Susie Wiles had her removed.
Right. In the
from
first,
that
she was a
because-
campaign
yeah.
director. Now the
And she's now exactly.
the White House, the chief of staff. Yeah.
So that was the one. Thank you, the chief of staff. So all of that is going on, but at the same time, look around, because since Tuesday you have not heard much at all, hide or hair, of Elon Musk.
Yeah. Well, when he took a beating, when he threw
Took a
out
beating?
money, he was rejected wholeheartedly by the state of Wisconsin. Thank you, sane, rational people in the state of Wisconsin, for doing what needs to be done. And thank God, because in North Carolina, the Republicans there are trying to steal a state Supreme Court seat.
Exactly.
So, been
So-
doing it for the whole time.
Now we're gonna have to, relocate this type of resistance movement, which is just, commencing, but is actually starting to work as well.
Oh,
I need
absolutely.
to talk about this little South African titty baby again, really quickly.
Pretend
He's on
President
top of
Musk.
dancing, like an idiot on stage again with a cheese on his head because Wisconsin, excuse me,
Cheese head.
outside of the UK truly does produce some of the world's best cheddar.
Oh, without a
but
doubt.
certainly not like the UK. Shout out to everybody. We already know. Believe me,
debate
trust.
on
We
that.
know. But you guys do it better, okay? But he was running around with a cheese head, and then in another rally at the same weekend, he went ape s. Well, what the hell? It's what our podcast name. He went ape shit on the fact that Coach Walls, who we wish was vice president,
Right now, would he be a great vice president right now?
that he's making fun of me.
They're evil.
He's making fun of my stock market, which is going
evil.
down.
Why
And
would he make
what kind
fun
of
of me?
hateful person would do that? Now, this is a man who was worth $400 billion and is now worth about 200 something because he has lost a significant portion of his investment, of his
Hooray.
money, which is great. But he's still worth between $200 and $300 billion, and he's crying to middle class people there. Who is cruel? What kind of person does that? What kind of evil people do that?
Don't
and
forget-
acting like a titty baby.
Don't forget, he's like, empathy
For being
is
chided.
empathy is the weakness of Western society. That's
Well,
fucking
I had
Elon
forgot about
Musk.
that. And by the way, I need to
Elon,
urge,
garbage.
I don't know if you've seen it, man. The Democracy Now! Did an incredible in-depth report the past week on his family's ties to the white supremacy of South Africa and the movements that took them
Didn't
there
read
and how they
that,
made their
but-
money. And you will understand what I mean, because you can find that on YouTube under Democracy Now! And you can also find our lovely selves at The Way Works Now at YouTube as well.
Yeah,
you can also
follow us,
follow us.
subscribe.
There, exactly, babies. And you can also follow us when we do our stuff here live at RCE 1069 FM. Now, well, because we want you as a new recruit. There's also some project that we should not understand. I really just need to make mention. This brother is ketamining everywhere, and there are reports coming out of the White House through,
His own words.
interns leak out stuff from the White House that he has freakouts and cries on multiple occasions. Now, I don't know if he goes fetal, but the motherfucker is crying and freaking out. This is a nearly 60-year-old man worth 300 billion children with a B dollars.
Billion.
And they say, according to these White House secret sources, that it's frequently. Okay, so while Drumpf does that, people's lives go up in smoke. Scores of thousands of federal workers have been laid off. Their job and future prospects are over. It ain't Paris that's burning, motherfuckers. It is the United States of America.
I mean, to erase trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars in wealth.
A minimum of 6 trillion just in the last 9 weeks that he's been there.
Yeah, I'm almost certain it's more. I just didn't get the number, so I can't quote it. But I heard something closer to 9. I have to fact check.
Okay,
that.
well,
Rachel Maddow reported that it was just over 6 trillion.
So then I trust her. Yeah, that's right.
She
I might have
reported
heard
last
wrong.
night, and it was about 6 trillion.
And I guess that emits here at 3 in the morning. So we're recording a few hours after that.
Yeah, right.
So it's around that. But she did also make mention, and she listed right there, the big 7, Alphabet and Tesla and Meta and all that
NASDAQ
shit.
wiped.
Amazon. They have lost in not even 3 days, 2.5 days, over $1.5 trillion of their worth.
Here's another thing. What I don't believe
me.
the market is factoring in, which is going to also wreck the markets, is that the slash and
Let's check
burn
the
chaotic
market, too.
negligence, the slash and burn illegal chaotic negligence of we don't have a Department of Education anymore. We don't have a CDC anymore. We're not going to have an FDA anymore. We're not going to be spending pennies on the dollar to keep 1 million kids alive with vaccines anymore. That shit is going to also wreck markets. We're not spending money on trying to stop. Like, the most disgusting thing that RFK Jr. did recently was gut the divisions of his the programs under his purview, the agencies under his purview that handle AIDS.
Yes.
And as somebody who has tragic
Don't forget
circumstances in my
Ebola
family,
with Musk.
it just makes me sick to my stomach that we're coming to almost completely eradicating AIDS, and we're having massive scientific development and wins in dementia and Alzheimer's, that it's all going to be set on fire and it's all going to be ruined by this ridiculous, unqualified trash heap of an administration. The United States of America should be one of the biggest donors of aid around the world. We should. The United States of America should be the #1 source of scientific and medical development in the world. We should. That's making America great.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the fact that
and helping the world.
help you have to help the world. You have to, like, especially
Make
when you're
it a
talking about
better
numbers
place.
like 0.5% of the yearly budget, and they're making up their lies about, this is woke, this is DEI, that. It's just an absolutely ridiculous circumstance. Like, they are doing tremendous damage to the United States and the world based on internet conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. And so we're having government via internet conspiracy theories
In the Oval Office as well.
enabling all of this through secret group chat illegally used to avoid record-keeping laws. That's what Signalgate
I
is.
try to throw it back to the way
Isn't it-
it was where we live. And I
Yeah.
try to throw it back to, like, trying to imagine this beautiful man. 'Cause I know a lot of motherfuckers don't care, but I think Pedro Sanchez is beautiful. And
you're a
I
big
want
fan
to
of his.
imagine him having an influencer and YouTubers and stuff like that in Moncloa, giving him advice and telling him to fire this mother effer and fire this bitch and fire this bastard.
Tariff the world. Imagine.
It is insane. I also want to make sure there was a tweet that 10 years ago, this Drumpf put out saying, any president who ever has any days where the Dow Jones loses 1,000 points should be stuffed into a cannonball and shot out.
Something like that.
Let me tell you something.
Gross incompetence.
Under your administration, you piece of shit. In the last 2 days, the Dow Jones has dropped 4,000 points, nearly 10%.
They almost have to trigger like automatic shutdowns. Like they shut down the stock market if the S&P loses too much money. And in the last couple of days, we were right there, just a smidgen below an automatic 15-minute shutdown of trading.
Of the top 10, the only one that made any that profit towards the end with a 0.04, I mean 0.04% was Ford Motor Company.
That's interesting.
Interesting. Not mad. Also, let's keep in mind, one of the things that Ford did very brilliantly not long ago was instead of having different models that are made in Europe, different models that are made in India, they're all the same models are made everywhere now. It's the same thing, yeah. Which is something that they did to change and,
I think people
fix
need
it up
to-
a little bit.
people
Hello,
need to
everybody.
understand-
View request. I will view your request and say, hey, girl, hey,
People
boy.
need to understand how completely destructive and asinine tariffs are as a means of replacing taxation. They are a tax, but also they don't actually lower costs or develop or lead to better development in the country that is actually worth a damn.
And-
they cost
and the-
jobs, they cost money, they
that's
cost
gonna affect
investment.
Us
So
as
like,
well.
so like the manufacturing sector in the United States of America is a very minute sector of the private sector. And again, I'm saying sector like 80 times, but it's very minute. So like, even if you did like gain even 1 million manufacturing jobs because of these ridiculous country ruining tariffs, you're going to lose so many more jobs outside of the manufacturing sector that it's never ever going to balance out. And your prices will never come down. Because here's what happens. The American companies don't go, oh, the tariffs, it's great, we'll make everything cheaper here. They go like, no, we're going to raise our prices. Hey, you want to buy the Chinese version? Hey, you want to buy the European version? Hey, you want to buy the South American version? Or for this much? Well, then we're going to raise our prices and get. So you will never be out of this prices death spiral. Whereas the Biden-Harris administration did a ton of things to lower people's prices. Joe Biden competently at the end of his term tweeted out, "I'm leaving you the best economy in the world." And the Economist magazine said the envy of the world.
And the strongest economy in the history of the world.
And the history of the world, the United States, under Joseph Robinette Biden, apologize to that man. Apologize to him, everyone. It was the best
He's
economy
very
in the
big
world.
on this, by the way. My brother Rob.
Oh,
is
I'm
very
gonna
big on
I'm gonna
that.
start my own movement. Apologize now to Joseph Robinette Biden, one of
We're
America's
gonna
greatest
start a
presidents.
movement. Well, see, and that's where the resistance keeps popping up because there's this kind of that little jokey thing you sent me a couple weeks ago, like, you miss me now?
Right. I miss Sleepy Joe. I miss him. I miss him a lot. Why doesn't the president show up to natural disasters anymore? Donald Trump shows up to the golf course more than he's ever showed up to a single natural disaster since being president.
And also,
everything is broken.
Also, the fact of the matter goes back to this insanity of where these ideas come from. Because the big question for me, for my students yesterday in my uni session was, what is profiting from this? Because they wanted an explanation of how this would affect us. So when we think of, for example, we export certain types of oil, not just like olive oil, but certain types of oil to the United States. We're talking scores and scores and scores of billions that we made from Spain. But also fine dining establishments, when they use, when you're paying $1,000 for your dinner that night with family, they use high quality products, and a lot of the olive oil that comes from, they often say that it's from Italy. They might even push it from Italy, but it's usually from Andalusia. You should see that a lot of olive oil actually is not Italian, it's from Andalusia. And so
On export, right?
they're not going to want to be buying that if they're going to have these extra tariffs, which I believe, I don't remember if it's 20 or 40% that's going to be on the olive oil. He had actually joked, or somebody had joked in the Trade Commission, that they would put 200% tariffs on French and Spanish wines. I mean, which is insanity.
So also think about coffee.
Didn't happen, though.
Think about coffee. It's not grown in the United States.
What you talking about, Willis?
And Trump's an idiot too. He said we have plenty of lumber in the United States. No, we have garbage lumber in the United States.
Trump, that motherfucker doesn't even drink coffee. He drinks Diet Coke.
Canada has the best trees for actually making homes, and that's why we get it from them in the United States. It's a joke. And Queen Maddow had said that Trump just got the idea for the tariffs because he needed some economic policy. He had nothing but, demonizing immigrants and shitting on Hillary.
Are you going where I was going to go? Go.
He needed some economic policy, and so Maddow exposed the fact that they just kind of winged it. And
by asking who?
Kushner to go look at who can give me a good economic policy, Kushner.
Yes, a little note here.
Kushner goes, please, you tell it, because he'll tell
He
better
does
than
an
me.
Amazon search. He does a Google and Amazon search and finds a book by Peter Navarro. who became his trade advisor in the last Trump administration one. And
Death by China.
Death by China.
That's the name.
And he created a man who is his analyst and someone that he got his advice from named Ron Vara, spelled V-A-R-A.
Expert.
Expert Ron Vara, which of course was a bit of an, he just mixed his name around.
Oh, he's not real. We should.
This
don't bury
man
the
is
lead.
fake. It has all come out now that this man is fake. And so they used this fake man's advice from a low-selling book
Right.
from a peon to say tariffs. We need to start tariffing better. Now, here's one of the things that
What a disgrace.
Alyssa Farah Griffin actually revealed on The View this week is that when this stuff was going out, now we know through through Peter Navarro using a fake contact named Ron Vara. Bitches, look this up.
Yeah,
It's
it's
ridiculous.
real.
This man never existed. It's all in a book, like he's like a world's leader on this type of stuff. Now,
Tariffs for a policy goal of some other sort, makes sense. If there are issues with the government of China trying to collapse U.S. industries
and steal intellectual property.
and steal intellectual property, then you can understand why some level of tariffs to even out the playing field, because they can afford to take baths on selling sub-quality goods to the United States consumers.
Exactly.
So it makes sense that there is some level of tariff there, and it could be negotiated, to lower and for the Chinese government to, stop that practice, limit that practice, because I believe
would be the point. I'm sure that Peter was gonna. He probably
Right.
implicated that at one chapter.
But that doesn't
I'm
mean
sure.
Spanish olive oil. That doesn't mean coffee and guacamole. That
And
doesn't mean lumber
penguins.
for
Why
houses.
won't
and-
somebody think about them penguins?
Yeah.
But I want to finish really quickly this thing because the tariff protection. So he put this implementation on this tariffs. Now Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence, this is again on The View, she revealed would talk him out of these situations and say target Russia with these sanctions, or target China with this, especially with the whole Huawei arrest and all that happened
Right.
between 2018 and 2019 when
Steve Bannon's friend.
suddenly an outbreak, a pandemic broke out. Interesting that, but that is all based on what he's doing. But now he's done it across the board, and we see. And I'm sorry, and again, I'm going to say it again. I apologize on behalf of the 340 million Americans who really, U.S. Americans, who do not want this. This will affect the world. How so? Because then when they're not buying our oils, our olive oil or whatnot, that's going to affect the bottom line, which is the market here of production.
Also trade
but
war.
then they can't have the workers, so that's going to start laying off workers, which is
Yep.
going to cost everything that we went through when I moved here back in 2009, 8, 9, 10, when we were in the middle of the bell jar.
Let me just explain that they will start a trade war. It will be a trade war. It will be economically devastating. But the fact of the matter is, it is not in the United States' interest for
exactly.
other countries to be gravitating towards countries like China, countries like Russia, countries like India, which is, fine to do business with these countries, but it is not necessarily in the United States' interest for other countries in the world to just put us in the back seat and deal with other countries. That's what I mean by that.
Now,
That is-
though, it has become in European interest, and I will actually be commencing my process to be a citizen this year and into 26.
Congratulations. Very good.
And one of the things that I do now think I will always be a U.S. American, more specifically New York Tejano in my heart, but I feel I've been here. Europe has taken care of me since I was 29 years old. For 10
So 3 whole years?
For 10 years,
Yeah,
darling,
10 years? Damn
darling.
it, I blew the joke.
And I'm 84. And one of those things then becomes, how do we protect ourselves from that? Europe has for too long, for 80 years now, bitched that the U.S. has too much power, but then when anything goes awry, the U.S. will take care of it.
Competent leadership, I understand.
Maybe, but then we should have been. There was an inclination I would say with Iran-Contra, that something wasn't right with the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah.
And then when Bush 1 came in, and I was a little boy, and I'm
Nixon.
talking 8, 9, 10, he threw it, read my lips, no new taxes. And I remember this. I was a little guy, 8, 9 years old. I remember this. And
new taxes.
immediately, new taxes, went to war, went to ish. Who saved it? Clinton. 9 months later, when Bush came in 2001, our city was destroyed and our economy was in shambles and we were in a war, and then the crises happened. Who came and saved us from that? Obama.
Another Democrat. Shocker.
Who did not help us here in Spain, and Mariana Rajoy took us to shit. had to vote themselves literally. It would be like the Republicans voting themselves out of office. That's what they did. And that's when Sanchez came in. And who saved us from that and has now given us the strongest growth economy in the world and Italy too? Pedro Sanchez. And this is a left-wing administration. And who came out again to save the crap that Trump left us with the pandemic? Joseph
Robinette Biden.
And now, 2 months into this, over $6 trillion lost of U.S. value. And eggs cost between 8 and 16, depending where you live, a dozen. Plus tax.
There's not going to be a CDC anymore, and we had a global pandemic that killed millions
And
of
let's
people.
dismantle the Board of Education.
I mean,
My Europeans, please, sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
Bobby.
no, it's just so
I want you
angry.
to think about as much as, because the majority, usually 60 to 80% in the country goes to a public school everywhere. If they gutted our departments of and ministries of education, which here also include football and culture, but that's another story. I don't want to talk about that. How would that affect us? How would it affect the 3/4 of the population this is insanity.
Mass illiteracy.
Exactly.
The world before public education was a disastrous one. It had a lot of children in factories and working on farms, rampant illiteracy, rampant ignorance.
But wait, there's more, because there's, I would say, exorbitant, even more rampant ignorance now, because we have 340 million people there. And in many states, specifically red states, you can be 14 years old working in a meat packing factory.
Oh, yeah.
You can be 16 years old or 15 in a single family situation, working in a construction site, building a home.
Republicans love that. Here's the thing. The left has to clean up every mess and disaster the right creates. It's the pattern of my
The world
life.
over, typically.
It's the pattern of my entire life, and it's just ridiculous. Just vote smarter, resist harder, boycott more, and call the hell out of your reps. The rest of the world, I apologize. We're going to handle these pricks, and I'm sorry.
Here at The Way Shit Works, we are going to become your burgeoning newbie expat podcast.
Telling it
Whether
like it
you're
is.
US or UK, later on as we generate more time and servers and followers and money, I want to spread it out for an entire US an expat community that's not just US based. But unfortunately, our country messes things up really quickly before we have to shed out of here.
Recommendation?
Out of here. Oh yeah, normally we do
Last
a lot
thing.
of books. Certainly the last 3 pods we've done books recommendations. Well, on this 4th pod, we want to talk about, and I'm going to say it, Jen Pumps, we love you, ladies. There was a podcast that I started watching in 2023. They had been doing it for about a year and a half at the time. It has blown up. It is in the top 2015 list of YouTube watched shows. And it is called I've Had It Podcast. And my girls, Jen and Pumps, I love you, Queens.
It's really
They
good.
admit this stuff out of Oklahoma, and yeah, I'm going to be throwing out a lot of love and tagging you ladies, because I want to talk to you and find out, and we want you over here. We want to get you out of there. So I know you went to Brazil recently. We want you over in Barcelona. Folks, you can follow us and all this good stuff where things are podcast. We are going to be launching our Blue Sky this month. We swear to God, and you're going to be following us on that as well. You can follow us as well as The Way Shit Works now on YouTube, and The Way Shit Works Now podcast on Instagram as well. And folks who join us on, we see the scores of you. Thank you so much for following us on there. Also, remember, you can follow us at Rob Solves America and The Club with Lucas and RCE 106.9 FM. We're going to say bye. And as always, we're leaving out with our queen, Tori Sparks, as everybody knows what's up. Folks, love yourselves and keep it real. Part of the people.
Adios.
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows that the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor, the rich get rich. That's how it goes. And everybody knows. Everybody knows that the boat is leaking. Everybody knows that the captain lied. Everybody got this broken feeling.